Yo, what's the dealio, man? Listen, you already know I got a straight banger for you. All right. So listen, in this video, I want to talk about what I'm investing heavy in. All right. I don't really talk about my investments a lot and what I'm investing in, right? But this right here needs to be said, and I need to make this video. All right. So if you just tuning in, man, if you new to the channel, man, welcome, right? Say what's up in the comments. Let me know where you tuning in from, where you found out about me, all of that good stuff, right? Be sure to subscribe to this channel because when we hit 2,000 subscribers, we gonna do something special, all right? So this video is not just, hey, I'm this is what I'm investing in. It is, I'm gonna give you guys a breakdown, okay? An actual breakdown. So check this out, right? So there's something called crypto, right? Have you heard of it? Right? Have you heard of it? So what we got going on is we got something called Bitcoin, okay? You see right here it's at $114,000 per coin, okay? So what I want to do is I want to break this down for you guys. I'm investing heavily into crypto, all right, every week, all right, and as much as I can. Now let me tell you a story real quick. When I was in the military, I was getting ready to get out, right? I was getting ready to get out, and so there was this dude I was working with, right? I'll never forget this. This dude I was working with, and then he was like, "Hey man, it's this thing called Bitcoin, right? This is the technology and all this other stuff." And I was like, "Okay," right? At the time, it was like $20, $40 per coin, per Bitcoin, okay? We talking about, I got out the military 2014. And so he told me about it. So I threw like $300, $400 in there, right? And I was like, I'm gonna let this sit, right? So then, you know, time went by. I wasn't really paying attention to Bitcoin like that. Didn't know about a wallet or none of that stuff, right? And back then, we didn't have like the apps that made it easy to keep track of your stuff. So I had Bitcoin, wasn't really worried about it. So then I got out, I got into real estate doing my thing. I needed some money one time, right? So I had like $1,000 in there, cashed out, right? And at that point in time, Bitcoin was at like 800 bucks. So I did this 2 different times. I remember when I was a lot younger and I wasn't super like stable in my life, right? So I needed some money, pulled it out, and I wasn't taking Bitcoin serious like that, right? Now fast forward, we see where we at. So all I had to do was hold on to Bitcoin and I would have been up 5 mil. You see what I'm saying? So I want to talk about and go into understanding like the importance of this right here, right? So there's a book that I read, okay, and that I'll be going through. It's called The Bitcoin Standard, all right, The Bitcoin Standard. And it talks about money, what makes money valuable, right? And it talks about how Bitcoin is always going to increase in value. And it makes a strong case for why the dollar is going to continue to decline in value, right? So if you haven't, be sure to read this book called The Bitcoin Standard. Now, with that being said, let's look at this right here real quick. So this is a Bitcoin price every August, right? In 2013, it was $148 per coin. $148 a coin, right? Every year, as you can see, in August 2015, it took a nasty dip, but then it doubled almost every year, right? 2019 and 2020, it stayed around the same, but a lot of years it doubled. Okay, so from 148, and last year in August it was at 65K. Right now we at 114. Right, a couple weeks ago we was at 120, so that's a double up, right? That's a double up, right? Going from 65,000 to 120,000 is insane, right? So I want you to imagine, where is this going to go in the future? Right? Where is it going to go in the future? And so you have to understand, why is Bitcoin going to continue to go up? I didn't understand this at first, but when I started doing research, I understood it. And it's about the market cap. That's one thing, right? It's about the market cap. When you look at the market cap, right, I think Bitcoin hit the 4th largest or 5th largest market cap now. But based on how this thing is going, they're going to reach a market cap that's nothing like we've ever seen, right? And so when you understand market cap, you realize that this thing is going to continue to grow, right? It's going to continue to grow. The federal government obviously has been getting involved, but they're saying that you can now use Bitcoin as collateral to buy a home in America. We're talking about Bitcoin. We're talking about cryptocurrency. We're talking about digital currency. Now is an asset that there will count to buy a home. That's very powerful. So when the federal government start getting involved like that, it's time for you to really, really, really stop taking this not serious, okay? Another thing is, look at this. This is about the purchasing power, right? So I want you to understand what happened. We had the gold standard back in the day. Now, the second that the U.S. stopped backing a dollar by gold, look what happened. The dollar's purchasing power has started to drop and decline ever since, 1940, okay? Well, it got abandoned in 1970, but it's been on a decline ever since President Roosevelt back in 1930, and it's been on a decline since, right? It was already down in 1970 from 1930, but after the gold standard, they said no more. The dollar just literally became fiat currency, and it's just paper, right? And so now what's happening is, when you look at the bottom of this photo right here, it tells you what a dollar was able to get you, right? What $1 was able to get you back in the day. All right. So this was in 2020. So you see right here, right? It shows you like 10 rolls of toilet paper in 2029 is what a dollar could get you. And now in 2020, you can't get 10 rolls of toilet tissue, right? 30 Hershey bars, right? 30 Hershey bars back in 1913 was $26, right? What's 30 Hershey bars now? Just think about it. $60, right? So right now, $1 barely will get you a McDonald's latte. That's what this is saying, okay? So understand, it's about purchasing power, right? So if we look at the price of Bitcoin over the last 12 years, you see that it's only been going up. So what if you invested into Bitcoin? If Bitcoin is only going to continue to go up because the market cap is going to continue to grow, that means that you're not late to the party. I used to think I was late to the party, right? And I was like, man, whatever, right? But it's not about you thinking that you late. It's about understanding how much room that this asset class has to grow, right? So what I highly recommend is to really start getting serious about investing into Bitcoin, right? And you cannot touch that money. That's the key. You cannot touch that money. So take some money that you do not need to touch and go put it into Bitcoin. I don't care if it's at 100,000 right now. I don't care if it's at 115,000. I'm dollar cost averaging every week into Bitcoin. And if I get bigger chunks of money, I'm gonna put more into Bitcoin. Because what happens is the dollar is gonna continue to drop in value, right? We at all-time highs in the stock market, but People ain't feeling comfortable and confident in the economy. They're not, right? Bitcoin is going to continue to go up. And let me tell you why. Because the feds, right? The Federal Reserve, they cannot print more Bitcoin the way that they're printing dollars. So this is just a supply and demand thing, right? When you got an infinite amount of supply, the demand is going to be low, right? And then that means that the value is not there. That's what the dollar is. But when you look at Bitcoin, it has a finite amount of the actual supply, right? Which means that the demand is always going to be getting higher and higher and higher. So the name of the game right now that we're living in is get as much Bitcoin as you can. And that's what people with money are doing. They are getting as much Bitcoin as they can right now. Because when this thing hits a crazy market cap, and now Bitcoin is at $700,000 a coin, right? Just think about what that's going to be able to do. That's a 7x. Think about stocks. What stocks are 7xing over the next 4 years? There's no stock that's 7xing. Nvidia was a unicorn, right? And you had to get in when you got in. And Nvidia is still a great buy long term, but I want you to understand that there's still a great opportunity with Bitcoin. And I've been getting real serious about Bitcoin and investing into Bitcoin, right? And I'm not looking at that money, right? I'm not trying to touch it. None of that, right? But I want you guys to understand this is why trading is so important and powerful. Because if you have a job, you can pay your bills. Now you learn how to trade. You learn how to make an extra $5,000 a month, right? You learn how to make an extra 5 racks a month. Now you could go put $1,500 a month into Bitcoin every month, right? And over time, the appreciation from the Bitcoin, you're going to be sitting nice. And then you're going to be able to afford things that are expensive, that were expensive, but because the purchasing power of Bitcoin continues to grow, right? The purchasing power of Bitcoin continues to grow, right? That means that you're going to be able to afford more things in the future, right? So listen, I've gotten serious about Bitcoin, right? And you should too. You should definitely get serious about Bitcoin. All right. When the feds start getting involved, it's only a matter of time at that point. It is only a matter of time. The market cap is going to continue to grow. This thing used to not be an asset class. Now crypto is an asset class. It's like the phrase, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. Same thing, right? So listen, I hope that made sense, y'all. I hope that you take this serious. Because when I started to get into it and start to understand what was going on, I was like, man, I should have held on to my Bitcoin, right? When I had it, I should have took it more serious. But the best time is today. Whenever you find out the information, it is today. All right? So take that how you want it, but I recommend you getting serious about Bitcoin, right? And I'm not saying investing in all these meme coins and all of that other stuff. I'm literally just talking about Bitcoin. That is the big dog, right? That is the gold of crypto. That is the S&P 500 of crypto, right? But the thing about it is, right, the inflation of the dollar isn't going to inflate the value of Bitcoin like it is the dollar, right? So these stocks keep going up in price, but it's because the dollar is losing value. The dollar is losing value. So people have to pay more money for the same things that they used to pay for, right? So now it looks like, oh, these companies are growing in revenue, but it's not that they're growing in revenue. Some of them are, obviously, right? But it's the fact that the buying power and the purchasing power has diminished so much that they need to print more money. And because they're printing more money, right? $1 back in the day is now only $5. So they're doing more revenue. These companies are doing more revenue, but nothing really changing because the dollar is losing value. And so there's more dollars that need to be circulating in the economy for the same things to happen that used to happen back in the day. Okay? So with that being said, man, if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to put Bitcoin in the comments. All right? I want you to put Bitcoin in the comments. Okay? Because listen, we trade to invest, right? Learn how to trade, get you some money, and then you take those profits and you invest. It could be in the stock market, it could be in Bitcoin, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But you trade to invest. You don't trade to live. You trade to invest. You start, when you living off your trading income, that means you making silly money, right? But you take your profits and you put it into investments. That's how the game go, all right? So take some money that you don't care about for the next 15 years and go put it into Bitcoin and thank me later, all right? So like I always say, make sure you get up out of your head, go get into this world, because your head is a dangerous place to live, all right? And also remember, the more you study, the less you worry. All right. I appreciate y'all time. I'm going to holler at you on the next video. Peace.